You say you want to be great, but do you really mean it? Do you really understand what that word costs? See, everybody talks about success like it's a cute little dream, like it's a vacation destination, like all you gotta do is pack your bags and wait for the plane to come. But greatness don't show up at your doorstep. It doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It doesn't knock politely. It's a beast that has to be hunted down. You gotta chase it through the mud, through the pain, through the storms that break most people down. You gotta want it like you wanna breathe, not like you kinda want it, not like, oh, it'd be nice. No, I'm talking about that life or death want, that desperate, urgent, nothing else matters kind of hunger. You ever almost drowned before? You ever felt the weight of water pressing down on your chest, every second feeling like your lungs are gonna explode? In that moment, you don't care about your phone, your clothes, your likes on social media, your friends, your image. You don't care about none of that. All you care about is air. All you can think about is breathing. That's the same way you gotta want your dream. That's the same way you gotta chase your purpose. That's how serious this has to be. Most people never get there. They like the idea of being successful. They want the lifestyle, the money, the claps, the fame, but they don't want the process. They don't want the grind. They don't want the sacrifice. They want to be on stage, but they don't want to be in the dark when nobody's watching, putting in the reps, losing sleep, getting rejected, failing again, and still showing up with the same fire. But that's what greatness requires. You can't microwave this, you can't shortcut this, you can't buy it on sale. It's full price, and the currency is sweat, tears, blood, discipline, and a level of focus that turns you into a different animal. You gotta be obsessed. Obsessed to the point where people think you're crazy. They'll say you changed. Yes, you did, because you had to, because the old version of you wasn't built for greatness. The old version of you was too soft, too distracted, too concerned with comfort. But greatness is war. It's spiritual warfare. It's mental warfare. It's emotional warfare. You gotta fight battles nobody sees and still show up like nothing can stop you. See, the truth is, you don't get what you want. You get what you're willing to suffer for. You get what you're willing to sacrifice for. You don't get greatness because you dreamed about it. You get it because you demanded it from yourself, day after day. Moment after moment, you said no when others said yes. You stayed focused when others got lazy. You stayed consistent when your emotions said quit. That's the difference. That's the separator. That's what divides the dreamers from the doers. You ever met someone who had all the talent in the world, but they never made it? You ever seen someone with all the resources, but they wasted it? Why? Because talent ain't enough. Potential ain't enough. Intelligence ain't enough. The game changer is hunger. The game changer is effort. The game changer is wanting it so bad you're willing to be uncomfortable every single day of your life, if that's what it takes. And while most people are waiting to feel motivated, while most people are waiting for the perfect moment, the greats create the moment. They wake up with purpose. They execute with urgency. They don't wait to feel like doing it. They just do it. Tired, still work. Broke, still grind. Discouraged, still execute. That's the mindset. That's what it takes. When you want it as bad as you want to breathe, your excuses start to sound stupid even to you. You stop lying to yourself. You stop playing small. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop blaming people because now you understand this is on you. This dream, this mission, this destiny, it's your responsibility. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody owes you. You either want it or you don't. You either go get it or you don't. You either rise or you rust. There's no middle ground, and the worst thing you can do is live your whole life knowing you could have been great, that you had it in you, that you had the talent, the potential, the opportunity. But you let it slip because you didn't want it enough. You didn't push hard enough. You didn't stay locked in long enough. You didn't stay hungry when it got hard. You gotta want it even when the lights are off. You gotta want it even when nobody claps. You gotta want it even when it feels like you're going backward. You gotta want it when it's ugly, when it's messy, when it hurts. That's when greatness is made. That's where it's born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, not in the comfort zone, but in the fire. You gotta choose that fire every single day. Pain is temporary, legacy is forever. That's what separates the greats from the people who almost made it, the people who came close but didn't finish, the ones who talked heavy but fell off when life hit them. See, greatness don't come without a cost. It requires something from you, and the price is pain. Not maybe, not sometimes, not when it's convenient, always. It's the sacrifice you pay up front. That's the tax on greatness. But here's what most people get wrong. They think pain is a punishment. Nah, pain is the proof that you're in the process. Pain means you're on the right path. Pain means you're doing something that most people don't have the heart to endure. You can't shortcut this. You can't cheat pain. You can't avoid discomfort and expect to live a life that's legendary. Every person you admire, every name in the history books, every champion you ever looked up to, they all went through something. They didn't get there because life made it easy. They didn't become who they are because things went smooth. They became who they are because they endured. They suffered, they bled, they cried, and they kept going. That's the difference. That's the separator. Most people quit when it gets painful. Most people stop when it gets uncomfortable. Most people back down the moment it's not convenient. But the ones who are built for greatness, they lean into it. They use the pain. They turn pain into fuel. They take every no, every loss, every disappointment, every betrayal, and they grind harder. They don't cry and complain. They don't play victim. They get back up every time. Because their why is stronger than the pain. You think the pain you're going through right now is too much. Good. That means you're in the fight. That means you're doing something that matters, and that pain, it won't last forever. Pain has an expiration date. Pain is seasonal, but legacy is permanent. What you build outlives you. What you create through your struggle. Your kids will see that. Your family will eat off that. Generations will talk about that, but you gotta go through the fire to get it. You don't get the crown without the cross. You don't get the win without the wounds. You don't get the victory without the valley. Everybody wants to be remembered, but nobody wants to bleed for it. Everybody wants their name in lights, but they don't want to walk through the dark to get there. But pain builds character. Pain sharpens focus. Pain burns off weakness. It shows you who you really are. You think you're strong. Let pain test that. You think you're committed. Let life punch you in the mouth and see if you're still standing. You think you got what it takes. Then prove it when everything's going wrong. That's the real test, not when it's easy. Anybody can be motivated when the sun's out. Anybody can grind when things are clicking. But who are you when your body's tired, your spirit's broken, your bank account is empty, and your circle is silent? Who are you when nobody's clapping? Who are you when nobody's checking for you? That's when greatness is decided, not on the stage, not in the spotlight, but in the pain. And here's the thing, you can get through it. You're stronger than you think. Most of the pain you're scared of, it's just a door to another level, but you keep turning around before you open it. You let fear tell you it's too much. You let struggle lie to you and say you're not built for this. But if you just hold on a little longer, if you just push a little harder, you'd see the breakthrough. You'd see the change, but you give up right before the miracle. You tap out right before it gets good. Because the pain tricked you into thinking it's permanent, but it's not. It's part of the process. It's the gym for your soul. It's the trainer for your destiny. You want muscles. You lift weight. You want greatness. You carry pain. That's how it works. Some of you are praying for strength, but running from the very thing that builds it. You asking to be great, but avoiding the grind that makes you great. You don't become a beast by talking about it. You become a beast when you go through hell and come out the other side better, stronger, wiser, hungrier. You don't break, you evolve. The pain that was meant to destroy you becomes the pain that defines you. But only if you endure it, only if you walk through it, only if you embrace it. So stop crying about the pain. Thank God for it. It's molding you, it's shaping you, it's forging something in you that comfort never could. You can't become who you were born to be without it. You can't birth greatness without labor. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it stretches you. Yes, it pulls you, but that's the price. That's the process. That's the cost of a legacy that won't fade when the lights go out and the world forgets everybody who never had the courage to fight through the pain. Everybody want the crown, but nobody want the crawl. Everybody want the prize, but they ain't in love with the process. See, we live in a generation that worships results, numbers, followers, trophies, applause, but greatness don't start with applause. It starts in the dark. It starts with that alarm going off at 4 a.m. and nobody knowing your name. It starts when your feet hit the floor and your body says, go back to sleep. But your purpose says, let's work. That's where greatness is made. Not when everybody's cheering, but when nobody's watching. When it's just you, the grind, and a dream that nobody believes in but you. You gotta learn how to fall in love with that space. You gotta learn to enjoy the silence. Embrace the sweat. Respect the lonely season, because that's where real ones are born. But what do most people do? They show up only when it's convenient. They only work hard when somebody's watching. They need the likes, the comments, the followers to keep them going. They're addicted to the praise, not the process. So the moment the praise stops, their grind dies too. But when you love the process, you don't care if anyone sees it. You don't care if anybody posts about it. You don't need recognition because the work itself becomes your reward. The growth itself becomes your motivation. You stop chasing trophies and start chasing transformation. You stop performing for applause and start practicing for purpose. You're not doing it for validation. You're doing it because it's who you are. The process is ugly, it's slow, it's boring, it's hard. It's unsexy. That's why most people skip it. That's why they look for hacks. They look for shortcuts. But there ain't no shortcut to excellence. There ain't no hack for character. There ain't no back door into greatness. You gotta put in the hours. You gotta fall in love with showing up every single day whether you feel like it or not. Because discipline is greater than motivation. You can't rely on how you feel. Your emotions don't run this. Your purpose does. Your vision does. You gotta build a rhythm, a routine, a code, a standard, not based on praise, but based on purpose. Based on who you said you were gonna become. Based on the legacy you said you were gonna leave. If you only work when people are clapping, you'll never be great. Because the real work, it happens in silence. You don't see the tears. You don't see the frustration. You don't see the hours where nothing works and you still keep going. You don't see the mornings where your body aches and your mind screams quit. But you push anyway. You don't see the meals skipped, the comfort sacrificed, the relationships lost, the sleep missed. That's the part nobody wants to talk about. That's the part most people don't want to live through, but that's the only part that creates greatness. That's where the elite live. That's where separation happens. It's in the day, in day out grind with no results yet. Still showing up, still locked in, still focused. That's love for the process. That's the dog in you. You gotta get addicted to improvement. You gotta wake up chasing better, not praise. Chasing growth, not likes. Chasing excellence, not exposure, because the process will grow you in ways the praise never could. Praise builds ego, process builds character. Praise inflates, process refines. Praise makes you feel good for a moment. Process makes you become good for a lifetime. The process will teach you what applause never will. How to be patient, how to be consistent, how to be humble, how to be grateful for small wins, how to grind when there's nothing to show yet, how to keep going even when you fail over and over and over again. Don't get it twisted. The spotlight feels good, but it fades. The trophies shine today, collect dust tomorrow. The claps stop, the likes drop. The trends change, but what doesn't fade? What doesn't get old? Mastery, self-respect, discipline, purpose, those things stick, and they only come from the process. So if you're chasing praise, you'll burn out the moment people stop watching. But if you're chasing purpose, you'll keep going long after the crowd's gone home. You won't care about the noise because the mission will always be louder. That's why some people lose everything the moment they win. They built it for the attention, not the foundation. They were chasing applause, so when the claps stopped, they did too. But the real ones, the ones who love the grind, the ones who fall in love with the process, they keep building when nobody's talking. They keep winning even when no one's watching, because their standard never depended on outside noise. Their identity was never built on praise. It was forged in work, in discipline, in the fire, and that kind of greatness can't be taken away. That kind of greatness is earned daily, in silence, in pain, in sweat, in relentless effort that don't need a witness to feel like a victory. Average is a disease. It spreads quiet, it spreads slow, but once it gets in your system, it kills dreams, it kills urgency, it kills potential. You don't even realize it's taken over until one day you wake up and you're just existing. You used to have fire, you used to have passion, you used to have vision, but now you're just doing enough to get by. Just enough to not get fired, just enough to keep your head above water, and you tell yourself it's okay. You lie to yourself and say, at least I'm not failing. But let me tell you something, not failing isn't the same as winning. Surviving is not thriving, existing ain't living, and being average is not being safe, it's being stuck. Stuck in routines, stuck in comfort, stuck in excuses, and the worst part, you don't even hate it enough to fight it. You were not born for average, you were not created to settle. There's nothing about your DNA that screams mediocrity, but somehow, somewhere along the way, you stopped demanding more of yourself, you stopped chasing excellence. You started negotiating with effort. You started letting your feelings run the show. I don't feel like it today. I'm tired. I worked hard yesterday. That's the mindset of the average. That's how they think. That's how they talk. That's how they live. But if you ever want to be great, truly great, you gotta kill average every single day. You gotta treat it like it's a threat, like it's poison, like it's the enemy of everything you've ever wanted. Because it is. Every time you snooze your alarm, average wins. Every time you scroll instead of study, average wins. Every time you say, I'll do it later, average wins. It doesn't take a major loss to lose your greatness. It just takes daily neglect, little choices, small compromises, repeated patterns that slowly, quietly, silently pull you down to a level you don't belong at. You were built for more, you know that, deep down you feel that. But feeling isn't enough. You gotta act like it, move like it, grind like it, speak like it, think like it. The world doesn't give greatness to the passive. It rewards the aggressive, the intentional, the focused, the relentless. You gotta fight for it. You gotta wake up and make war with average. Some of you have normalized low standards. You think doing what's expected makes you special. You think showing up is enough. You think checking the box is gonna put you in rooms built for lions. Let me tell you something, doing what's expected is the bare minimum. You don't stand out by blending in. You don't dominate by doing what everyone else is doing. You don't lead by following the crowd. Greatness requires more sacrifice, more discipline, more effort. You gotta bring energy when you're empty. You gotta deliver excellence when no one's watching. You gotta hold yourself accountable when nobody's clapping, because average people love to be managed, but great people, they manage themselves, they push themselves, they demand more from themselves. And don't get it twisted, this ain't about being perfect, it's about refusing to be okay with just being okay. It's about refusing to show up halfway and call it effort. It's about raising the bar on your own life because you know deep down that average doesn't serve you. Average doesn't fulfill you. You go to bed with regret when you live average. You carry stress you don't talk about when you live average. You look successful on the outside but feel broken inside when you live average. Why? Because your soul knows you weren't made for this. You're uncomfortable in comfort. That's not by accident. That's by design. You're wired to grow. You're wired to stretch. You're wired to lead. But none of that can happen when you keep allowing average to make decisions for your life. You gotta kill it every day. It's a fight, and the thing about average, it's sneaky. It doesn't announce itself. It just slides in. It whispers things like you've done enough. Take a break. Nobody's watching. And if you listen long enough, you'll start believing it. But you gotta fight back. You gotta speak louder than the lies. You gotta wake up every day with a mindset that says, not today. Not today, comfort. Not today, excuses. Not today, distractions. Not today, laziness. You've got too much to accomplish, too much to build, too many people depending on you to show up as your best self. There's no time to play small, no space to live soft, no excuse big enough to justify wasting this one life you've been given. Not when greatness is on the line. Not when destiny is waiting on you to take responsibility and go all in. You keep saying you want to be successful. You keep saying you want to be great, but every time it gets hard, every time it gets uncomfortable, every time it gets a little inconvenient, you start backing up. You start slowing down. You start doubting why, because your why is weak. That's it. That's the truth. Your why is fragile. Your why is based on feelings. Your why is based on hype, on what it looks like, not what it costs. And the moment life puts pressure on you, your excuses get louder than your purpose. But the ones who make it, the ones who become great, they build a why so strong, so powerful, that not even failure can shake it. Not even pain can kill it. Not even fear can break it. You want to know why most people quit. It's not because they aren't capable. It's not because they aren't talented. It's because their why wasn't rooted. Their why wasn't planted deep enough. And when the wind came, when the pressure hit, when the stress kicked in, they got uprooted. But when your why is real, when it's about something bigger than money, bigger than fame, bigger than attention, then it holds you steady. Then you keep showing up when it's hard. You keep showing up when you're tired. You keep showing up when nobody's clapping. Because your why is greater than your mood, your pain, your fear, your feelings, your distractions. See, your excuses are loud because you feed them. You give them attention. You give them energy. You let them sit at the table with your goals. You let them walk around in your mind rent-free. You say stuff like, I'm not ready. I don't feel motivated. I don't have time. I'll start tomorrow. But let me ask you something. When did those excuses ever help you grow? When did they ever elevate you? When did they ever get you results? Never. But your why will put gas in your tank when the fuel lights on. Your why will make you swing again after failure knocks you out. Your why will make you choose discipline when your body wants to quit. So stop feeding excuses, starve them, feed your why. Maybe your why is your family. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's the younger version of you that didn't have a chance. Maybe it's the legacy you want to leave behind. I don't care what it is, but it better be strong. It better be something that makes you cry when you think about not finishing. It better be something that makes you angry when you think about wasting your gift. It better be something that haunts you if you decide to quit, because that's what keeps you going when life punches you in the face. That's what keeps you focused when distractions surround you. That's what keeps your feet moving when every part of your body screams stop. You think people who succeed had it easy? No, they just had a why that wouldn't let them quit. They had a reason so personal, so emotional, so deep that pain became fuel, rejection became fire, delay became data. They weren't perfect. They were just committed. They were locked in. They made a decision that no excuse was going to stop them. That no excuse was bigger than their dream, and if they failed, they'd fail forward. If they got knocked down, they'd crawl if they had to, but they weren't going to quit. Not with that kind of why, not with that kind of purpose. So what's yours? What's your reason? What's your fuel? Because if your why is rooted in comfort, you're never going to make it. If it's rooted in approval, you'll quit when people don't clap. If it's rooted in money, you'll quit when the money dries up. But if it's rooted in legacy, in impact, in transformation, then you become unstoppable. Then you don't fold, you fight. You don't beg for opportunities, you create them. You don't wait for a seat at the table, you build your own table. Because your why gives you strength the gym can't build, Hunger a coach can't teach, and focus life can't break. You don't need more motivation, you need clarity. You don't need more inspiration, you need intention. You need to wake up and remember why you started. You need to feel that fire again. You need to look at the people who are counting on you. You need to look at the younger you who dreamed big before fear stepped in. You need to look in the mirror and ask, is this the best I can give? Because if your why is real, if your why is rooted, if your why is deep, then quitting won't even be an option. Excuses will sound like betrayal. Laziness will feel like failure, and comfort will feel like quicks. And greatness doesn't come to the interested, it comes to the obsessed. It doesn't show up because you kinda want it, because you sometimes think about it, because it would be nice to have. It comes to the one who has to have it, who wakes up with it, sleeps with it, bleeds for it, sacrifices everything for it. See, the world is filled with people who are talented, people who are smart, people who have potential. But potential without obsession is wasted. Talent without obsession is forgotten. If you ain't obsessed with becoming the best version of you, then you're already losing to someone who is. You keep saying you want to be great, but you still act like it's a hobby. You still treat it like it's an option. You still approach it like it's a side gig. That's why you're not there yet. You still scroll more than you grind. You still talk more than you work. You still daydream more than you execute. You want it to happen for you, but you won't fight to make it happen through you, and that's the problem. Greatness is not a coincidence. It's not a lottery ticket. It's a lifestyle. It's obsession. It's showing up every day, not because someone's making you, but because something inside you refuses to sit still. Something inside you screams, this ain't enough. Something in you burns every time you think about staying average. People around you might call you crazy. Good, that means you're getting close. They'll say, why are you working so hard? Why don't you just relax? Why are you always so intense? Because they don't understand what obsession looks like. They don't know what it means to be locked in, to be tunnel vision, to live like your life depends on your dream, but let them laugh, let them doubt, let them fall asleep while you're still grinding. Because later, you'll be legendary, later, you'll be undeniable, later, that obsession will speak so loud that even the doubters will have to shut up. Obsession isn't just about work, it's about identity. It's about becoming one with your purpose. You are what you chase. You are what you repeat. And if you don't live obsessed, you'll be forgotten. You think champions got balance. You think icons had perfect schedules and 8 hours of sleep and free weekends. No, they went all in. They locked in. They sacrificed. They gave up temporary pleasure for long-term purpose. They said no to parties, no to distractions, no to average days with average people, and they weren't sorry about it. Because they knew what they were chasing was bigger than the moment, and now their names are remembered. Now their work echoes through generations. Now their obsession has a legacy. So you gotta decide, do you want comfort or do you want greatness? You want to fit in or do you want to be remembered? Because you can't have both. You can't be casual and legendary at the same time. Obsession will cost you. It will cost you your excuses. It will cost you fake friendships. It will cost you your comfort zone. It will cost you sleep, time, energy, ease. But that price ain't even close to what you gain. Obsession gives you focus. Obsession gives you speed. Obsession gives you that edge that makes you dangerous. It separates you. It makes people say, yo, there's something different about them. Yeah, there is. It's called purpose. It's called ownership. It's called waking up with hunger every day, even when you're full. It's called looking at your vision so hard you can't unsee it. That's what separates a life you regret from a life you own. You don't need more balance. You need more clarity. You need more urgency. You need to understand that time is moving whether you are or not. That the clock don't care about your comfort. The clock don't care about your I'll do it tomorrow. Every minute you waste, somebody else is grinding. Somebody else is building. Somebody else is obsessed. And in the end, when it's time to perform, they're ready and you're not. Not because they were better, but because they were obsessed. So don't tell me you want it while you still giving average effort. Don't say you want success while you keep pausing every time it gets hard. Don't talk legacy if your actions scream comfort. Either go all in or get out the way. Be obsessed or be forgotten. That's the law. That's the difference. You want to be remembered, then do something memorable. You want to leave a legacy, then live like it. Every day, every rep, every call, every decision, be all in. Live with the kind of focus that makes people uncomfortable. Move like every moment matters, because it does. Be so locked in on your mission that you don't even notice the noise. You don't even hear the distractions. You don't even flinch when things get hard. Because obsession has made you unshakable, it's made you powerful, it's made you necessary, and in a world full of noise, full of average, full of people who kinda want it, you become the one who earns it, owns it, and leaves something behind that can't be ignored.